Good morning. Good morning. What's up, man?
What's happening? What's happening? Listen, man, welcome, everybody to another edition of the No Stingy Energy Podcast, where we talk wealth, health, all of the financial situations that's going on throughout the world. Oh, you know what I mean? But today we got a special topic that we looking to broach today. I hope you have your pens, your pads. This is going to be one of those educational days where we really dive deep into all things real estate, from creative finance. We're going to be talking about multifamily. We're going to be talking about build to rent. We're going to be talking about a lot of creative finance strategies because the landscape has changed a little bit. The landscape has changed a little bit. So as a result of that, that's what we're going to be talking about. But here's the deal. My name is Byron, real estate investor out of Houston, Texas, primarily focused on the wholesale space. Do a little bit of creative finance, fix and flip, new construction, new to the build to rent space. Definitely excited about that. Also, proud member of the Accelerator program, where we help investors move further, faster. O'Neal, it's on you, man.
Good morning. Good morning. O'Neal Parker, real estate investor, entrepreneur, Lafayette, Louisiana. Been in real estate since 2016, full-time entrepreneur 2020. Do all things real estate, but love rentals, love passive income, owner of leverage to wealth, teaching people how to leverage where they are currently in their life. Wealthy in real estate, man. I'm excited about today.
Yeah, we got a special guest today, though.
That's it. And another thing, man, if anybody close to Florida, man, we got a mastermind.
Yes, we do. I'm excited about that. That's going to be super dope. Mastermind is going to be crazy. It's always good to do those, man, just to kind of reconnect and find out what is the poppinest things that's going on in the market. But we got a special guest today, man. And listen, a lot of y'all don't even have to be introduced because you already know who he is. But for the people who may not, we got my guy House Buying Brian in the building. What's going on?
Yeah, man, y'all showing some love in the chat, man. Put some flame in the chat.
Hey, good morning. Brian. Good morning. How y'all doing?
You mind giving them a quick intro?
Yeah, sure, man. Brian Rigbu, real estate investor, creative finance enthusiast. Started investing about 10 years ago. Now managed to replace a six-figure job with creative finance rentals. Managed to purchase millions of dollars of real estate without having to use a bank loan. Glad to be here this morning.
Yes, indeed.
Happy to have you, man. Happy to have you. Yeah, I'm ready to talk about it today, man. It's going to be a good conversation.
Absolutely. Listen, we ain't going to waste no time. We're going to kick this thing off. So it's a lot of things going on in the market right now. So as you know, according to Freddie Mac, right, recently data from Freddie Mac, current mortgage rates are stubbornly falling from the year high of 7.79% in October 2023 to currently January 2024, 6.6%, which is good because Jerome Powell did mention that mortgage rates should be falling in 2024. And obviously, mortgage rates falling will have some implications in the market, and hence the reason why we're here right now. So the real estate listing website realtor.com predicts that in 2024, the housing market forecasts that rates will average around 6.8% this year, dipping to about 6.5 by the end of the year of 2024. Although mortgage rates are expected to begin to ease, they are expected to exceed 6.5% for the calendar year, the report reads. And obviously, as you look at the stats here, you see exactly where we are today at 6.6%, which I think is really dope in the sense of, I think this is the deal. This is what excites me about this data. Right now, is somebody looking to get into the market, into real estate, in the real estate market, and they're thinking, okay, let me wait till the mortgage rates come down, right? And then I'm gonna jump in. Do you see any problems with that thought process?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems. the longer you wait, the faster they come down, the more you're gonna pay. So you gotta expect the more you're gonna pay because the lower the rates go, the more competition you have.
The more
Just because
competition.
you've been looking at a house, you know what I'm saying? The house is 220. You know, you've been looking at it for the last 2 months. If that rate go down just a little bit, that 220 may go to 230 real quick.
Real quick. So what
Because
you're saying? What's that?
because now you got 40 people looking at that same house and it ain't 5 no more
Wow.
because it's more affordable. But now you got a lot of competition. So, you know what I'm saying? The house that you've been looking at, it may not be the house for you. Or it could be the house you want, but you're not going to get it because a lot of other people want it. And they're going to drive you out of your pre-approval range, I'm sure.
So you mean to tell me that if I'm looking to get into this real estate market, the timing is now? Is that what you're saying?
For me, I say buy it now because the rate's at 6.6. I don't think that's horrible, but we got to think about you can buy down rates. You know, you can negotiate. You can actually sell it for seller credit 10 to 15,000. You use that 10 to 15,000 to buy down your rate and lock in at 4.5%. And I don't think 4.5% is bad. Me personally, I don't think 6 is bad. You know, if you buying a good deal.
Facts.
But
So
you know, typically people buy emotionally and they overpay.
facts.
That's what we're not trying to get y'all to overpay, man. Even
I
for your
know.
personal house, you can have a little bit of emotion, but you got to have some business with it too.
Facts. So let's talk about this. I know we got some other stats that we're gonna share, but real quick, I just want everybody to fully understand that at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, getting into the market is just as much timing, right? A lot of times than it is finding just the right opportunities. So timing matters as well. But also, you know, when you get a little bit more savvy, timing may not matter as much because you already know how to run your play regardless. But we just putting it out there. But anyway,
I think I'd rather be in that position.
What's that?
When timing doesn't matter. Because
when timing
doesn't matter and you got skills, you can play the game at any time, bro. Because you got less competition. Because most people rely on the market. When you have certain skills, you can buy a house at any time and it always makes sense.
Facts.
And then you have no competition.
Facts.
You know?
Let's keep the party going.
Yeah, that's why we see some people win, some people not. Some people don't have those skills and they don't have that knowledge to actually take advantage of what's going on.
Matter of fact, we got a poll, man. I would love to put this poll up. Our first poll. Just I want to get your thoughts on this, you know, for the people who, you know, maybe still on the fence. So what do you feel today is keeping you from owning real estate? What do you feel is keeping you from owning real estate? Number one, is it lack of knowledge? Is it lack of money? Or is it both? So is it lack of knowledge, lack of money, or is it both?
We'd love to know.
Yeah.
And while we getting that question answered, you know, why do you feel more people wait? Why do you feel a lot of people are saying that right now? I'm gonna just wait until the rates go down. Where do you think that thought process come from?
Well, I think it's
because a lot of people say that.
I think it's lack of knowledge, and I think it's fear. Those are fear-based. Lack of knowledge and fear. Lack of knowledge in the sense of you don't have a skill set to be able to compete in the marketplace regardless. Fear in the sense of you feel you need everything to be perfect for you to take your first step.
I agree with that. I would say another thing is people are relying on other people too much. So I guess it falls under lack of knowledge. I know a lot of people, bro. My realtor said, I you know, my realtor this, my realtor that. Like they don't be having no knowledge of their own. Because you rely on somebody else to make decisions for you that's not even buying the property.
Facts.
But you know, it's a different story. Most people get highly emotional when they buying their own property. But let's talk about it, man. I don't know if Brian with us, but I think we need to talk about is he with us or no?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good morning, man. Good morning. If you can explain to us, man, what is actually creative finance for the people that don't know?
Creative finance. And I don't know if there's a textbook definition, but my definition has always been any way that you purchase or do a deal that's not traditional, that isn't your typical 3 to 5% down, FHA or non-owner occupied 20% down mortgage, conventional anything that's outside of that, or your VA loan or USDA loan, anything that falls outside of those typical loan programs, I would call creative. Creative finance deal is something where you're gonna um, do more with less, leveraging other people around you to get the deal across the finish line. I would call that creative.
Nice, nice, nice. So you think anybody could do it, or you gotta have something like? Because I know you mentioned not buying properties the typical way, like getting an FHA and all that. So you think anybody is capable of doing creative finance, or you gotta go to college or something?
No, no, absolutely. I think anybody can do creative finance with the right guidance, mentorship, or education. I mean, it's just specialized knowledge, right? And so, if you understand the specialized knowledge in this education, you could accomplish any type of creative finance deal. Just like you are given the instructions on what exactly to do to be able to be approved for a conventional loan or FHA loan. There's a series of steps to be able to pull off a creative finance deal depending on the deal itself. So it's all specialized knowledge. You don't need any licenses or anything like that.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, did you like? I think if you can, man, break down the story of how you bought your first three personal residence with the creative finance. Because you don't really typically hear people buying properties like taking over people's mortgage. Most people just hear getting a VA loan, FHA loan, rural development loan. What's the other one? Conventional loan. Like I never really heard nobody until I met you about their personal residence by taking over somebody's mortgage.
Yeah, man. So when I first got started, man, I didn't have much cash. I think I had like $4,000 cash to my name. Credit score was like in the low fives. Um, and I was anxious because I seen all these people getting into real estate, and I just knew it was gonna be a while to I had the right resources to be able to get in the game as well. So I got mentored, right? And through mentorship, I started to understand the other ways that you could buy real estate. So the my two favorite ways to buy real estate in the beginning was one, seller finance. So uh, getting sellers to allow me to make them payments over time. So instead of me going get approved for a bank loan and the seller getting cashed out, getting the seller more money over time. Another way was I was finding people that needed to sell quickly. They didn't want to wait for a traditional buyer and a loan to close. Probably didn't want to put money into their property, but they still had a mortgage. And so another way I was buying properties is I would offer to take over on sellers' mortgages. My first two residences, um, the very first one actually was a widow. Her husband, had passed away of a heart attack, and she was left the rental properties that she didn't want to deal with, and she was in the middle of fixing it up and getting it put on the market with the realtor. I told her, "Hey, you don't have to do anything else to the house. What if there's a way I could take over on the payments and just get it cashed out down the road? You know, is that something that will work for you?" She said, "You can do that." I said, "Absolutely." Um, Within a week, we met at the closing table. She deeded over the property because she, at that point, was an heir and had ownership. I continued to make payments on that mortgage. The deed was in my name. I kept that property for about 4 years and later moved out and seller financed it when somebody put $20,000 down as a down payment. And this is all on a mortgage that I never got approved for, but I had 100% ownership. The next house after that was when I moved to Houston, Texas. It was a family of with 4 kids. The husband had lost their job. The house was on the market with a realtor because they were in pre-foreclosure. However, they did not have a buyer on the hook yet, and you guys know that you know a loan like a conventional loan typically can take about 30 to 45 days to close. So they were within 30 days of the foreclosure date. So they was in a tough situation. Um, a wholesaler was working with them to try to find a cash buyer, but all of the cash buyers, the offers were coming in less than their payoff on the loan. When I came to the table, I offered to take over the mortgage payments and give them a few $1,000s in their pocket. That was the best solution that they had on the table at the time. That house was only 4 years old in a brand new subdivision. It was 5 bedrooms, three and a half baths, with a fenced-in backyard, two-car garage. And I was able to purchase that house without using my own credit, using minimal cash. Um, and that's a house that I end up selling about 4 years later and making $118,000.
Damn. Ooh. What was the interest rate when you bought it? Wouldn't the interest rate lower than the current rate was?
Man, I don't think I ever remembered any of those interest rates. It never matter.
It didn't matter.
They never matter. No, but if I remember, I think the very first house that I purchased, subject to, I think the interest rate was about uh, probably about maybe 6.8%. And the second one probably is around like 3.8, 4.2, something around there. I honestly, man, the interest rates usually are just irrelevant to me.
Why are they irrelevant to you?
Um, because it's really deal specific. When we're buying these assets, the main thing, do they pay for themselves, right? We don't want something that's taking money out of our pocket. We'll call that a liability. As long as it's taking care of itself, it's cash flowing and meeting its I guess income requirements. That's all that matters. As far as the interest rate, I mean, interest rates are also temporary. I mean, if I buy into something right now with an 8% interest rate, the interest rate could go down in the future. It could go up in the future. Who cares, right? I want to make sure that I'm in, fixed debt. I'm not in a debt that fluctuates, right? And so the day of acquisition, I want to make sure that it makes sense that day. If the deal makes sense that day, and I don't have a variable interest rate, that's all that really matters. If I want to pay down the debt quicker, I can do so. If I want to take advantage of a lower interest rate in the future, I can do so.
MM put in the comments. She said,
Man, I
I
want
don't
him
know
to
if
join
it's
the
he or she.
stage, man.
Yeah. Said it sounds complicated. And it said, I'd rather deal with the bank, borrow an interest-free loan from your retirement funds and make a 20% down payment. So can you kind of break down why you would want to use somebody else's leverage,
Mortgage.
mortgage, instead of your own? Why is a creative finance deal from an investor standpoint a better option than utilizing your own anything and putting down any down payments?
Right, right. And I love that I love that take, that insight, but here's the reason why I would, you know, vote against that. First of all, all right, let's go to the complicated part. Did I see someone say it sounds
Yes.
complicated?
Sounds complicated.
When I tell you that closing a deal with creative finance is the fastest, swiftest, easiest way to do a real estate transaction, I cannot say it enough. If I go through the bank, there's this process called underwriting, and there's many different requirements to be able to be approved. Here's a few. One is debt to income ratio. If you're purchasing a property through a bank, they're going to have a specific debt to income ratio requirement that you must meet. And let's say if you got a car note or you got too many other reoccurring bills, you won't be approved for that loan. Another thing, they're going to ask for documents. They're going to ask you for the same documents 2, 3 to 5 times during the process of that underwriting period. The exact same documents that you already sent, right? They're going to verify employment. They're going to verify bank statements. They're going to ask you for tax returns. They're going to make sure that you don't do anything, make any big financial moves during that underwriting period. So if you go and run up a credit card, if you go make a big purchase in the middle of that loan closing, that could halt that process. That is what I would call complicated. Now let's talk about buying a property on creative finance. Hey Becky, um, you know, at that price, that's a little bit, more than I would want to spend. We wouldn't want to put ourselves in an over leveraged position. But let me ask you this, Becky. What if there's a way that I could pay you that $200,000 you want in equal payments over the next 20 years? Does that sound like something that might work for you or probably not? Well, what do you mean, Brian? Well, I know you said you're looking to get this amount. What if I was to pay you $900 every single month until the loan was paid off? Well, Brian, 20 years, that's too long. Okay. Becky, what if I could pay you $900 for the next 5 years? And then at the end of that 5 years, whatever I owe you remaining, Becky, I'll pay it off. Brian, that works. Let's write it up and let's give it to my attorney. We put it on
Mm.
paper. We give it to the title company. The title company does all the work. I show up to the closing table within a week. And after that, I make the $900 a month payments to Becky. That's it. No underwriting requirements, no bank statements, no W-2s, no tax returns, none of that. I would say
And
that
the
that is
closing fast.
yeah, and the closing is as fast as the title
Title search.
company can draft the documents. So literally, you can close the same day, right? Eventually you're going to get to a position where you know how to draft a deed, because if you look at all the closing documents, anytime you ever close the property, if you look at the documents, they all kind of say the same thing, just different names, different numbers, right? Different legal descriptions. So you'll get to the point where you could draft a deed yourself and you could buy a property in hours, right? But to keep yourself safe, you can go through a title company, you can close these deals within, a few days.
I
Uh,
love the questions that MM have, man. You got a lot
yeah,
of questions.
it's good
So
questions.
it sounds to us like you never heard of this strategy before, which is great. But, majority of people have it. All right. So his next question is, well, this is all in one. How do I know you can make those payments? All right. And then another one is, if you didn't get approved from the bank, then as a seller, how can I trust the ability to pay? That's some good questions because people really ask these questions on these calls.
Facts.
No, and that's a great question.
It's an amazing question.
Yeah, that's an extraordinary question. And as an investor, I love this, right? Because this is how I was always told. I was always nervous. I wanted to sell the seller on my ability to play. You know what I tell a seller if they say, Brian, how do I know that you're gonna pay? I don't even think O'Neill and Byron know my answer. I really don't.
I
I
don't
want you
know.
guys to.
But
I want you
I'm
guys to.
about to
Byron,
say,
what do you think my answer to that is? I don't think you know. You on
you
mute.
on mute, bye.
My answer would be you don't know.
Oh, okay. Oh, Neil, what you think my answer would be? Somebody says, Brian, but how do I know that you're gonna pay?
I'm not in the business of losing houses.
Okay, I would say both of those. I would start it off with Byron's. Angie, you don't. But I will tell you this: um, if I purchase this property, we have a lot of money invested, and this is an investment for me, right? And I'm not in the business of losing money.
Yep. Then another thing typically is I know I be saying like Worst case scenario, if I don't pay, which I will, you get the property back in better condition which you had before.
Facts.
So the risk is really on me, Angie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another thing. Here's a little hack right here, guys. Because a lot of people say, get so nervous on how do I sell the seller on me doing this creative deal. They're gonna feel like it's so much risk. You psychologically, you want to reverse the perceived risk in their mind. So when a seller is considering you doing a creative finance deal with them, they're thinking, oh my God, what if this happens? What if this happens? And oh, what if this happens, right? I'll literally say, Angie, well, what if we don't pay? Wow, I mean, first of all, you don't, but I'll tell you this. I mean, we're gonna invest money into this property, we're gonna improve it. Um, let's say a down payment was involved, which typically we don't put down payments. You know, the down payments that you received, Angie, all of the monthly notes that we've received, you'll be able to get the property back, and you'll have it in better condition, and you'll be able to keep all of the money that we paid. I mean, we'll lose everything. I mean, the risk is really on us. And all of a sudden, the perceived risk shifts, and they feel like, "Oh, I'm in a good position." Like I'm in a good position if I sell and finance it, because if this guy stops paying, look at the upside.
They win and you
That's a
lose.
fact.
Yeah. So again, I I've experienced the at this point I've experienced the traditional lending and creative finance. And February next month will be 10 years that I've been in the business. 500 plus deals. Creative finance is so much faster and so much easier than buying a house traditionally. It's not even a
Facts.
comparison.
I would say, creative finance is different between people staying normal and getting wealthy. 'Cause most people that's in multifamily that buy big deals do creative financing all day long.
Yeah, I will say I did recently do a cash out refi with a local credit union. Luckily, that was pretty cool. That was pretty fast. It was about 2 weeks, which it was surprising. About 2 weeks. They didn't require surveys. They did require appraisals. They did require tax returns and bank statements and things like that. But it was 2 weeks. But still, there were some requirements done on the creative finance deal. Never would have had to do. So, and I don't think this because I'm pro creative finance or anything like that. Literally, there's less requirements and there's no speed limit of how fast you can move.
And
Wow.
can you use creative finance with any parts of real estate or just single family? Like, can you use it with
Uh, uh,
multifamily?
it's and matter of fact, it's more prevalent in multifamily. The reason why is because with multifamily deals, apartment complexes, a lot of times, first of all, you got a smaller pool of buyers, right? And it's known amongst these sophisticated buyers that a lot of times they'll carry back the second half of the note, right? They'll get a large percentage of their equity or the purchase price in cash and carry the remaining, or they'll allow somebody to assume, that debt. So, uh, it's in the single family world where homeowners are, kind of nervous and they really haven't heard about this. But, these sophisticated investors that play in the multifamily space, it's almost norm for them for a owner to hear a seller carryback type of option.
Absolutely.
Love it, man. I love it. So using the same strategy, man, I think, we go back, I think what interest rates are what, 6% right now, Brian? 6.5 or
Six
6.6?
6.6.
I bought a property less than a month ago at 3.7%.
Hmm.
Hey.
Oh yeah, that's something to
Like
talk about there, right? And
Creatively.
that's another thing that
creative.
I love. So let's talk about interest rates. Why it's kind of like who cares about interest rates? Well, the two my two favorite ways to purchase real estate, interest rates are irrelevant. So first of all, let's talk about seller finance. I have a homeowner, right, that wants to sell their property that they do not have a mortgage on it. They own it free and clear. Everything is negotiable except death. If I want to purchase that property from that seller and there's no first lien position with a already standing interest rate, I can make the interest rate whatever it is. And typically, do you know what interest rate that I typically propose?
0.
I don't talk
Don't
about
propose
interest.
one.
I don't talk about interest. I talk about principal only payments. And guys, and anybody can math this out. And I'm just going to throw out like some arbitrary numbers. You can pay $200,000 for a house, person A, $200,000 for the house, no interest, just principal only payments. Hey Becky, I'm gonna pay you, equal payments of blank till I pay you your 200,000. And person B for that same house could buy it for $150,000. So buying it for $50,000 less with let's say a 6% interest rate. Do you know who's gonna pay off that house faster? The person that bought it for 200,000 or the person that bought it for 150,000?
200,000 all day.
I would pay $200,000 for that house all day long. And
Mm.
if anybody is wondering why, go write those numbers down. And I haven't even done an example on it, but I'm pretty sure when you pencil it out, the person that paid $200,000 that doesn't have any interest is going to be in a way better position than the person that paid 150,000 with a 6% interest rate.
Wow.
So that's
Wow.
one
I
thing,
agree with
seller
that.
finance. Number two, so we can create our own interest rates, right? So even in a market climate where you got 6.57% interest rates, I can have no interest. I can have a 2% interest rate. I can have a 3% interest rate, even if somebody had a 400 credit score. Wow. The next thing is, let's say somebody has a mortgage on their house and they got approved for the mortgage. They had a stellar credit profile and they locked in a 2.8% interest rate, but they really, really need to sell now. I can take over the mortgage payment, not assume it, purchase the property subject to. So now my name is not on the debt. I am not the guarantor. And now I have that 2.7% interest rate. And I have 100% ownership to do whatever with the house that I please. I can rent it. I can sublease it. I can actually sell it on seller finance with an existing note under it, or I can live in it. Now, why would I want
Man,
to go to a bank to go through all of the hoops and hurdles, right?
all
Because
that
here's the
trauma.
thing, Brian, real quick, and then we got Garland in the building as well. When you set up a creative finance deal, similar to what you was talking about, with a 0% interest, let's think about this. With a 0% interest, what kind of credit do you have in order to do that deal?
You don't. It's not about credit. It has nothing to do with
Hmm.
credit.
So
It
my
has
credit don't even
everything.
matter.
It has everything to do with what the seller agrees to.
Wow. So
The
I can get
skills.
a 0% interest rate, right?
The
Pay
skills.
off faster. Plus, on top of that, I don't have to go through the whole underwriting process. Wow.
And there's no limit how many you can buy. I know there's certain type of mortgages that after you get a certain amount in your personal name, you need to start having to find commercial lenders. That's why some married couples, what they like to do is, one, get a certain amount of properties financed in their name, and the other get another half, you know, to the limit, financed in their name. But when you're talking to creative finance, there's not a there's not a limit.
Mm,
I want to go
wow.
back to the point MM said. He rather go through a bank. You can have an 850. You go to the bank, you still gonna pay at least 5% interest.
Facts.
But if you develop skills, you can buy that same property with no interest.
Zero.
So you having a lack of knowledge, you paying more for a property because you just rather go that route.
Well, it's traditional. It's what most people believe is the norm, right?
But that's why most people losing in America in life as well, because they're doing the norm. There's always another side.
Yeah, I love what MM said. MM said that I would rather, I think, said, what if you lose your income? I think it was, what if you lose your income? I wouldn't trust anyone but the bank from a legal standpoint. I love that. Guess what? I wouldn't sell my house subject to either. Right? I might sell it, seller finance with an instrument that allows me to take the property back. But I wouldn't sell my property subject to either. But check this out. I am not the seller, and I never think for the seller. And a motto that, I believe and I teach is some will, some won't. So what? Who's next?
Right.
That part.
And another thing, we're targeting people that needs our help. We're not just going on the MLS and just calling somebody that just listed their property yesterday. Hey, I know you got a list for $200,000. I know you rather $200,000 cash. Could I just pay you over time? It can work, but that's not really our target market.
Facts.
Right.
Listen, man, we got my guy Garland in the building, and it's super dope that we got Garland in on this conversation. We got Brian in on this conversation because what we're looking at, right? We're looking at perfect timing. What does perfect timing mean for this conversation? What does perfect timing mean in this instance? Well, it's a lot of things going on in the marketplace, right? Number one, Black ownership is extremely low right now. Black home ownership in comparison to white home ownership. So let's look at this thing real quick. So a couple key takeaways. We're gonna go to the clip number 3. Couple key takeaways. Exploring home ownership disparities in the United States. It says more Americans own their home, but Black-white home ownership gaps is the biggest in decades, according to NAR reports. So number one, from the overview perspective of home ownership trends, positive trends, it says overall, there's an increase in home ownership rates among Americans. But the concerning disparity, despite the general rise, there exists a significant gap in home ownership rates between Blacks and white Americans, right? So this widening gap of home ownership rates. So what is it right now? So current statistics, the home ownership rates for white Americans in 2021 was 72.7%, while for Black Americans, it was 44%, indicating a substantial gap, right? The largest gap in decades. The Black-white home ownership rate gap is reported to be the widest in the last 10 years. And so the reason why this is so important, right? The reason this is so important is because at the end of the day, we need to be looking at ownership matters. You can't just be out here thinking that you're going to be renting forever and that it's okay to not just own, right? A lot of the reasons why the wealth gap is what it is simply just ownership of property. It don't necessarily be just your income, right? It don't just be income a lot of times with this. It's what you own in comparison to what you owe. And a lot of us right now are so driven by how we look, how we show up in the world, but we are not taking a look at what we own, right? What we own of value that will continue to rise in value over time, assets over liabilities. So a lot of this conversation is going to be centered on perfect timing right now. Get something, right? Grab something that you can own that will continue to grow over time. That's it. So when we're talking about creative finance, we're talking about the strategies that Brian was just talking about. And when we're talking about some of the things that Garland is going to be doing, it's going to be talking about what he's doing in his market. I want everybody to just kind of think to themselves, we're talking about how do you skip the line, right? Because a lot of us don't have all of the money in the world to be able to run these kind of plays. Matter of fact, the thought of thinking that you can run these plays is stressful, because you're thinking, damn, MM put a great point in the chat. I need 20-25% down to be able to get into the game. With that,
how many people have that?
With that philosophy, it's gonna be difficult for you to be able to move to a space to where you can get 30, 20, 60, 10 properties, because you're not going to be able to save that 20% up enough times fast enough to be able to get into the game. Right. So what you need is you got to figure out, how do I cut past the line and get here faster? Right. Because a lot of what differentiates between the wealthy and the poor is the speed in which it takes for you to create
faster way to make it happen.
It's the speed. Right. Yeah. And when we're talking about shortcuts, we're not talking about nothing illegal. We're not talking about anything that is unscrupulous or anything that is unethical, any of those things. We're literally talking about adding value to the marketplace, right? But with specialized knowledge and getting to wealth a whole lot faster than the traditional. So we got my guy Garland here. He's doing another strategy, and we kind of operate from a creative standpoint. I'm utilizing his strategy from a creative standpoint. We're going to talk about that as well, and we're going to highlight more ways to get into this game faster. But Garland, you mind giving yourself a quick introduction real quick?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name is Garland Harris Jr., owner of Middle Housing Design Co. We are a architectural design firm based out of Houston, Texas. We do a lot of townhouses, duplexes, small multifamily projects, starting to get into triplexes and fourplexes now that the city allows us to build those. We do ADU units also. On the other side, I'm a partner in a development company where we also build our own projects. So our latest project right now is the Bill Street Brownstone. Should wrap up the end of this month if we can push our contractors more. And then our next couple of projects we have for 2024 are we're building a subdivision of 15 mid-century modern homes. That's probably going to be a build-to-rent project. And then we have a couple of other smaller, like duplex and fourplex projects that we'll be building this year. Is that good enough, Brian?
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
So I got a question. How was your strategy that you're doing right now working in today's market?
So one of the things I did last year around this time, actually, Zonda. I don't know how many people know the company Zonda. They're basically a data company for people in the construction industry. They put on a conference every year called The Future of Build to Rent. And last year was in Dallas. So, I spent like $1,200-$1,300 to go to basically a 1.5-day conference and learn about the build to rent market. I saw early on how the build to rent model was going to take off, and now we're seeing it, widespread. So I wanted to learn like how these guys are thinking. And so I went to that conference, learned a bunch, and came back, talked to my partners, and was like, yo, we got to get into this build to rent market. And we have to find ways to, create developments that offer the same things that apartments offer, but in a, single family or duplex or townhouse configuration. The thing with that is, with the build to rent market, we have a lot of people who, you talking about home ownership, we have a lot of people who have fallen into this trap that believe that not owning a home is a good thing. And so they want the convenience of being able to live in a home, but not having the responsibility of it, with the maintenance and everything. I mean, just these past 2 months, I spent like almost $9,000 replacing portions of the sewer line at my house. My house is like almost 70 years old, and the sewer line cracked in multiple places. So, most people don't want to have to deal with those kinds of maintenance issues. So that's why they prefer to rent. And one of the craziest things that I learned about the build to rent market on the housing side of the housing single family market is that they have a much higher rental retention rate than apartments. They can look at retaining these people for like 3 or 4 years in one of their units, as opposed to the apartments where somebody might move every year. So in our strategy, we're looking for areas where there aren't a lot of apartment complexes, especially in the infill area, because it's a lot harder for you to come in. And if there's an area where there's a bunch of smaller lots, it's a lot harder for an apartment developer to come in and try to buy up a bunch of houses to build an apartment building. But it's a lot easier for us to come in and say, buy a couple of 5,000 square foot lots, put a couple of duplexes or fourplexes on them, and rent those joints out to people who want to rent them. And then on the sales side, if we feel like the area is good enough for us to sell some units, then we'll put them up for sale. We typically, right now, our current project, the units are like, we're selling them for like 400,000. We typically don't want to be that high. We would really prefer to be somewhere between 200,000 to 300,000. It's hard to get anything under 300, but there are some changes that the city has made that will allow us to create some houses that can fit into those markets. So that's about it.
Love it. Love it. So I want to highlight a couple of things, because we're talking about ways to get into the marketplace, right? We're talking about strategies to be able to get into the build to rent space, whether you want to do whether you're utilizing creative finance, or if you have the money to put down 20%, which I'm of the mindset, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm of the mindset, because of the things that I learned, even if I got 20%, I'm not putting 20% down. Yeah. I'm not putting 20% down, period. Because
why not?
Because once you understand that you can get into a house with little to no money out of your pocket, why would you ever put down 20%? That's the question.
That's what they say. That's what the people say, man. You got to put the 20% down.
Yeah. Once you see that take place, once you recognize that, you know what, not only don't have to put down 20%, but I can literally get into a property with little to no money out of my pocket. Once you realize that, it taints your way of assessing a real estate deal. I want to get Brian in on this, and we're going to go back to Garland, because we want to talk about some other creative finance strategies as well. But Brian, real quick, when you think about putting 20% down, matter of fact, have you put down 20% on a property before? Have you ever done this to get into a deal?
Out of my own cash.
Mm.
I mean, here's the thing. We're trying to do more with less. Even if you had $5 million liquid cash in your bank account, if you're putting down chunks of 20%, I mean, that can go really fast. So, like, we're trying not to use all of our, liquidity. We're trying to keep as much cash as possible. I mean, $1 million cash. I mean, the average house in Houston is what around $200,000 or more. So let's start talking. Let's not even talk about down payments. Let's say a lot of people just want to be able to just use cash, throw cash around, right? Throw cash left and right. Well, how if you got $1 million in cash, how many $200,000 houses can you buy?
5,
And then what? How much money you have left?
0. You got some houses to look at.
You bought 5 houses. Your $1 million is
It's
is
gone.
is in the houses. Yeah. So no, I never put 20% down on my own money. And the reason why I'm against that is because why use 20% to buy one property when you can use that same amount of money to buy 5 properties?
Wow.
Yeah, and I heard somebody say that there's not a shortcut. And man, there's so many things that we're just programmed to hear, right? Because it sounds like prudent, you know, advice, right? It sounds like wisdom, but there absolutely is a shortcut. Is there an easy way? No, no, no. That's a big difference. I didn't say it was easy, but there's definitely a faster way. There's always a faster way, right? And somebody always know a more efficient way to do it, right? And it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know. I'm pretty sure that there's more things in real estate that I don't know that could, multiply my net worth overnight if I can get in that right room, right? But the reason why I know there's a shortcut, because I watch people all day long talk about what they're looking to do or what they have to do to buy their first property or their second property. Or they may say something like, Brian, I'm looking to buy 2 properties this year, or 2 properties a year for the next 10 years. And I'm like, two? Why? Why not buy 2 a month?
Yeah. What's
And it's
hard
just
what's
something
hard
that
for
they
them is
don't
easy for
know.
you. Right.
Wow. That is amazing. That is
I
amazing.
mean, I think Byron witnessed it last year that I think we probably bought
You
about
went
30
crazy.
prop yeah, about 30 properties. Byron was right there watching it. The reason I stopped buying properties last year is because my bottleneck was contract crews, construction crews. We had 3 construction crews, 2 construction crews. 2 of the contractors happened to be crooks, so I was only left with one contractor, and a bunch of vacancies. So it's like, all right, I got to stop
The
buying
headache.
houses. Yeah, we had somebody that said, man, y'all was buying houses like they was on Amazon.
Yes, indeed. So real quick, because this is a beautiful conversation,
This
and
is
this is a very beautiful conversation. I'm loving this
fire.
conversation. Yes,
I'm not gonna lie, bro. We have to speak to stuff like this because this is the reason why they have the wealth gap.
exactly. Because
Like
we
that's
are
why I really would love MM to join the stage, but he don't want to join us. Him or her, I don't know. They don't want to join the stage. That is the reason why us as black people are so behind, because we think like that.
Here's the thing. Oh, here's the thing. And I want to dovetail this into the new construction space because a lot of us are in big cities. I don't recommend this play for anybody who is in a smaller city. But if you are in a big city, another play you could run. So Garland just talked about new construction. I'm going to tell you how literally I was able to get into a property where I paid $0 for the property. Listen to me, y'all. I need everybody to understand something. And I need MM to really, really, really understand this real quick. For new construction, $0 for the property, right? So the way this works is similar to what Brian was just talking about, right? We always want to think about how can I find the largest leverage point, right? And what is the largest leverage point? Is it my money or is it the seller's money, right? My largest leverage point is going to be always the seller's money first, right? And so what we were able to do is seller was in a situation where they were looking to sell a property, but they weren't really excited about selling it because they knew the property's value over time. So what we were able to do is make a partnership. We were able to make a partnership with that seller to where we became partners. I'm going to bring in the new construction. The seller's going to bring the land to the deal. And then we're going to create a new construction property where the seller is part owner, I'm part owner. The seller's maybe 20% owner, I'm about 80% owner, right? And at the end of the day, I'm going into the deal with little to no money outside of my soft costs. And I want to share with anybody that anybody can 100% run this play, because guess what? How much money did I come out of pocket to do the deal? Little to no money out of pocket, right? Only thing I paid for was my soft costs, right? Which was my architectural plans, right? And I paid for the closing costs. Literally, that's it, right? Literally, that's it. Now, did I have the money to put more money down? Could I have structured the deal in a way to where I put more money down? Absolutely. But why? Why would we do that when I can take that same money and position myself to be able to do 5 other deals exactly the same way? So right now on that deal, I'm out of pocket maybe about $3,000. We're already in the permitting process to build this property, right? And when it's all said and done, I'm literally only into the deal about $3,000 to $4,000. And we got a new construction project at the end after we go to the bank to run the play. So again, the seller is going to be part owner. I'm going to be part owner, right? And we're going to have an asset that we both own. And it was through a partnership play. I'm just saying, these are the types of strategies that we learn when we take what I would call a shortcut, not from we're doing anything unfair. We're doing everything by the book. We're just doing things in a way to where we can utilize more leverage, get to the goal faster, and acquire more assets in the same amount of time. What you think about that play, O?
Beautiful thing, man. Beautiful thing. So you got to figure out the people that has these properties. How can you help them? How can it be a win-win situation? And most people will say yes, because they want to see you win and they want to make money over time, and they actually want to see that land actually go to an actual house or building. The way you did it is similar to the way I did it. You buy land that way. I bought 20 acres a year ago. Only cost me $2,000 out the pocket. 20 acres only cost $2,000. We make no payments for 3 years. We didn't put no down payment, and we're the owner of 20 acres. It only cost us $2,085, which was closing costs. But it's all about solving that seller's problem. He just didn't want to take care of the property no more. He didn't care about the money. So it's possible. But you got to sit there and listen and have skills to actually accomplish this goal. But most people are not going to take the time out to build those skills to actually do it.
Facts. So Garland, I want to know what Garland think about that play, about the partnership play with the seller. What's your thoughts on that particular strategy?
Partnership is king. I can tell you right now, one of our latest pickups is a partnership with a wholesaler. So they they approached us like maybe in August. This is like down the street from our current project that we're building. And the seller wanted, I think, 120. And the land that we were building on, we bought it for 110 like 3 years ago. And so we were like, cool. So we got like 2 weeks before closing, and he comes back and he's like, oh, I need an extra, $10,000 because I got some other heirs who want some money. And we were like, oh, well, nah, we're going to pass on the deal. And then the city changed their rules. I went back and revisited the site, and I was like, yo, I think we could fit an extra unit on here. So I think we could actually make the deal work. So we talked to the wholesaler, and the wholesaler's fee on the deal was going to be like $35,000 or something like that. So we basically told the wholesaler, look, if you're interested, we'll make you a part of the deal. We'll basically make you almost like a mentee, where you can come in and follow us through the entire process that it's going to take to get this project built. We'll teach you everything that we're doing, and we'll pay you your $35,000 on the back end. And we, drafted up everything in the contracts with our real estate attorney. And we basically got the property for 130 because we could pay them the 130. So the seller got his 130. The wholesaler is going to get the knowledge that they need to learn how to do development, and they're going to get their money on the back end. So that was one way that we did partnership. The other way that we also offer partnership to landowners is exactly what you said. Where we'll ask the landowner, like, hey, if you'll deed the land over into a project LLC that we'll create, where you'll be a member, we'll be a member, then we'll give you the value or the number that you're asking for on the back end when we finish the project, and it works whether we're going to build to rent or build to sell, because when we build to rent, we're going to refinance the property anyway out of the construction loan, and take a cash infusion out of the property right there so we can pay the guys back on that end, because we'll just build the project, we'll build the land costs into our pro forma. But on the other side too, when you talk about partnerships, if you're brand new and you're trying to get into new construction, partnerships is your best friend, because a lot of banks right now aren't willing to lend to people who don't have any experience in the new construction market. And that's just because a lot of people don't make it to construction. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the pre-construction process, like when you have to go through your entitlements, that's your zoning approval and things like that. A lot of people don't read the rules, so they fail in that area. They get the permitting and their project doesn't meet any of the city rules, so it gets kicked back and it never gets permitted. So, banks are very wary to give people who are brand new money. So one of the best things you can do is partner with, somebody who's experienced. And if you bring them the land, I don't doubt that there isn't a guy who wouldn't want to do the deal with you, unless they just greedy and they don't see the bigger picture. The whole construction, the new construction game is all about volume, so that's why you see us pushing to build like a 15-unit project and trying to buy larger acres. The more volume that we have, the better our financing gets from our construction lenders. I already got lenders that told me once we hit 50 homes, they'll basically let me name my interest rate, and they'll give me up to like 90-95% financing. Once I hit 100 homes, 100% financing on any project I want to do.
Wow. So you mean to tell me that they're going to give you more money because you're doing more volume?
Because you understand the process, and because so many people fail at trying to get new construction projects off the ground, whenever they find people who have figured out that process and can consistently get them done, they want to give you money because they know that you understand this process and you can get it done. So that's when I tell people all the time that this is an experience-based business. The more experience you have, the better funding you can get. You'll get more investors that'll be more attractive to you because they're like, oh, I can see the stuff that you're building, and they look at you and they say, okay, well, I can make some money with these guys. Same thing with the bank. Make no mistake, the bank just trying to make money off you. They're not there for your goodwill.
Wow. What I love about this conversation, and Garland, is I really believe, right? I really believe that a lot of this is mindset, right? So a lot of us have to really, really start to think, okay, wait a minute. I want you to just really, really soak this in. I know for me personally, when I think about the real estate that I own, a lot of the real estate that I own currently was through some version of either creative finance, or I just found an extreme deal through the wholesaling process, right? Because I just found crazy deals, right? And I want everybody to just think to themselves, what if you would have just to really step back and just think, okay, how can I get acquainted to understanding how to pick up deals with little to no money down? How can I do that? Right? I know that it's possible. The first thing we got to do is we got to believe. I know that this is possible because everybody can't be lying about being able to pick up properties with little to no money down. Right? Then the next thing I want you to think about is the fact that, listen, having just one, right? right? Having just one or owning small amounts of real estate, it may not be enough, right? It may not be enough. If you want to be able to pass down a certain amount of wealth or be in a position to have a certain amount of wealth, owning just one is not going to be enough, right? Owning just a little bit is just not going to be enough for us to kind of play catch up in this. And this goes to whether you're in stocks, right? Some of you may play the insurance game, whatever it may be that you claim as your asset hedge. We need to be fighting for more ownership, more ownership. I don't care what kind of ownership. If you like Bitcoin, do the Bitcoin. If you like stocks, do the stocks. If you like real estate, do the real estate. But ownership is going to be the key. How do we get to a space, Garland, to where we just start transitioning from thinking that living a day by day is just not going to be enough for us to really set ourselves up for success when we get to those older years, right? And we penny pinching or working 2 or 3 jobs just to survive, right? How do we transition right now to get to that space?
I say for me, man, every day that you live, you should be living for today and 20 years from now. That's why when I got in the game, I was 100% focused on rentals, because at the age of 40, 45, 50, I want to be making at least 30, 40,000 a month passively. If I'm not thinking about that in my 20s, how the hell am I going to get there in my 40s? I can't wait till I'm 40 to try to get there in my 40s. I'm too late. I got to work too hard. It's possible, but it's extremely harder. But if I think about it in my 20s, I'm not worrying about what other people think. I'm not worrying about hanging out with people that's not really on what I'm on. I'm thinking about my life 20 years from now. So you got to think that way. I'm thinking about today and thinking about later. So you should always be setting up your life to make money today, but also set up yourself up for later. So if I'm buying houses in my 20s, by the time I'm in my 40s, they should be paid off, if not almost paid off. So now that house that I bought for $100,000 when I was 20 is now worth $200,000, and it's now bringing in $2,000 a month. So now I got a house that I bought for $100 that's worth $200. So now I got $200,000 in equity, and I'm also making $2,000 a month, no mortgage, because I decided to buy that when I was 20 instead of buying it, fixing it up, and flipping it, and only making $40,000 20 years ago. That makes sense, Byron?
100% sense. I want to hear what Garland got to say about it.
So you got to do both.
Yeah, I mean, I echo the same thing. You gotta. I don't really care when you start. If you start late, you got to start at some point. But I think also it's just a mindset thing. I think a lot of people just have fear. I mean, my pops was a very fearful person. When I bought my house in South Acres, he told me I was going to get robbed, and I made a poor decision, yada, yada, yada. My house has went up in value like almost $65,000, $70,000 since I bought it in 2020. And I'm sitting on a 3.125 interest rate. I've had guys come in and offer me money. I always tell them, I'm like, $300,000, I'll move today, bro. And they're like, oh man, I can't give you that. But like we built houses in areas like I remember I took my pops to our first construction project in South Park. When you drive down the street, it don't look all that good, you know what I'm saying? But my pops was like, how the hell you sell these houses for $360,000? I said, because people want to live over here. We close to the medical center. The medical center is expanding. I said, this is an area where there is extreme growth. And so the thing is, like, being able to have that vision to see things that other people can't is key. But yeah, mindset is the main thing. Like, if you continue to look at some of these neighborhoods in your area as what they were and not what they're becoming, then you will miss out on money to be made. I'm in a Facebook group, a wholesale group. I think I've been in that group like 8 or 9 years. And I saw somebody post recently, they asked if Fifth Ward was a good place for them to buy a rental. And there was a ton of people on there that was like, oh no, that's the bloody nickel. You're going to get killed. Your tenants are going to die. Don't buy over there in that neighborhood. And I'm just laughing because I know that that these people are living with past knowledge. They're thinking of the Fifth Ward in the early 2000s or the 90s. They're not seeing the East River Fifth Ward. They're not seeing the golf course that's been built in Fifth Ward. They're not seeing. We got one of my clients, Joshua Ashford, just finished up a plan we designed for him in Fifth Ward off of Noble Street, and he's selling these joints for $380. I'm pretty sure he'll have a contract by the end of the week on both houses. And so I watched Fifth Ward go from houses selling for $185,000 to now almost $400,000. You know, and all that is a mindset of being able to see like, yo, people want to move back into the inner city, so I'm going to buy land in that area, or I'm going to build projects in that area, and I'm going to take advantage of what's happening. You know, I'll leave you with one thing. One of my boys said his friend is an Uber driver. He picked up this white man deep in Sunnyside, like on one of them back streets, bruh. And he asked the dude, he said, yo, man, what you doing over here? He said, well, you know, I know this area is changing and this neighborhood is growing, and I got this house for cheap, and I'm going to sit on it for a couple of years, and I'm going to be able to sell it and leverage it into something else that I want to buy in the future. That's a mindset thing. You know, he not worried about the crime down the street. He not worried about none of that stuff. He knows that this area is not going to be what it is today, and he's going to be able to take advantage of it in the future. And I think that's the issue that most of us have. We don't have the foresight to see where things are changing, and we don't realize it until it's already been built.
I love that. I love that. You know, it's funny, Garland, you mentioned that, and I got to get Brian in on this too. You know what I'm saying? Because I know Brian is cooking in the chat. So here's the thing. One thing I was excited about, Garland, and I'm pretty sure you've probably seen similar. So I was out with the wifey last night, and we were driving by Fifth Ward, a lot of different in downtown, and I saw a lot of different developments, right? And I was looking at them because I follow like a lot of the Black and developers here in Houston. And I was amazed by the fact that a lot of the developments that I saw were people that look just like me. A lot of the developments that's taking place in the city, you know, are Black developers. And you wouldn't even think that this is like a thing, but in Houston, yo, listen, and they don't even be on social media like crazy. Like I'm talking about people that may only have like a couple hundred followers, couple thousand followers. You may not even know who they are, but they killing it from a development standpoint. And I just thought that was super dope. Well, what's your thoughts on that? And then I got to get Brian in on this. I think.
Yeah, it's a ton of them. One of my very first clients, one of my good friends, her and her husband just built like a $4 million home out in Rasharen. I think her net worth is almost like 8 or 9 million. Her goal is to get to a $10 million net worth. No social media presence. She got a Facebook page, barely post on it. You would not know that her and her husband are millionaires. They ain't got, you know, they don't drive like super luxury cars or nothing like that. They're like me. They drive pickup trucks, you know. My business partner, him and his wife, millionaires. I think his net worth's like somewhere around 6 or 7 million. His wife's a doctor. He runs a civil underground construction company that does like $40 million a year. You know, his wife is the spender. So, you know, you'll know that they got a little bit from there. But I know like several other, like a lot of these guys are my clients. Some of them no social media presence, but building like tons of projects everywhere. I can tell you there's a lot of us building in Sunnyside, Fifth Ward, Holland Heights, which is that area south of South Acres. So there's a lot of us out here. I think Houston has probably one of the best Black developer markets in the country, especially because a lot of us know each other. and we'll collaborate and work together on projects. But yeah, I mean, if you don't think that you can be a developer and you can be successful at it and build like companies like Aisha and Kevin Shelton, like they're trying to get to being a public builder, you know. So I mean, if you think it can't be done, just come to Houston and drive around any of the neighborhoods Brian mentioned, and you'll find a lot of projects that are built and owned, built and developed by Black developers.
Wow.
What's your thoughts on this, Byron? You ain't speak on it, man.
Bruh, listen, man, I'm super excited about it, man, because I have a couple $1 million in development going on. Shoot, as we speak, by first quarter, I should have a couple $1 million in development going on. Shoot, by the end of the first quarter. So I'm excited because I'm actually participating in that growth, right? I am one of those Black developers that is building. So I think that's dope. But I want to get Brian's take on it. I don't know if he's connected to the system or not. I don't know. Is Brian with us?
Or Ghost?
Oh, there we go.
Man, I ain't never left, man. Y'all stay.
It keeps showing your system is disconnected. So I ain't know if you was with us or not.
He been in that chat, man. He been talking to MM.
Oh, that's what it is.
I like MM. And MM got the discipline, the prudent finance.
It gotta be from Dave Ramsey crew. Gotta be.
But look, I'll say this. No, genuinely, MM has accomplished things that most people will never accomplish. I mean, probably top 10% of most people, they keep up with the Joneses, they burn money, and they're always in financial disarray. So, no, that's major. MM. Now, one thing I just kind of want to, say, of course, everybody's goal is different, right? I wouldn't say, the goal is different for everybody, right? Whatever, you feel compelled to do or led to do. However, when we talk about, because I know a lot of people, shun, debt, leverage, and they're scared of it. But, the reason why we use debt and leverage is so we can do more with less, right? And the reason why, we'll use debt to buy real estate, at the end of the day, guys,
none of us on it.
What we really want to accomplish, a lot of us investors, is our goal is to get the most precious resource that we have, which is finite, and it's time. And so ideally, we're trying to invest, use leverage, use debt to get our time back as fast as humanly possible. And this is not that, so I can make passive income and sit on the couch and watch Power. No. So you can leverage, use debt, leverage, get assets so you can get your time back to invest your time into your purpose and meaningful work. See, the majority of people in life, like, they're stuck going to work to pay bills. And we ask them, why are you working? Because I got bills to pay. And so they're wasting their precious life away where they can't get back just to get a check, just to pay bills. And it's a vicious cycle. And ultimately, what you want to do, your time here, is you want to invest that time fulfilling your purpose, doing something meaningful with your time. And the quickest way to do that is to leverage assets and debt so you can get your time back. So it's not about the money or how fast you could grow a savings account or this. It's about how much time are you able to get back.
That's powerful.
Time. It's all about time. The wealthiest people in the world, they talk about their time. So that's the reason why, that we use debt. That's the reason, because we want to free ourselves.
That's powerful.
Like that.
So when we talk about that time freedom piece, right? If you look at the fact that even right now, on being here on No Stingy Energy and being able to pour the years that we've been able to pour, a lot of that is because we've done certain actions that put us in financial positions to be able to come here and give consistently and not have to be
Wow.
worried about our basic needs being met.
Oh my
Because
God.
if my basic needs were contingent on my ability to be here right now, I couldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to afford to be here right now.
You'd be in traffic. You'd be on your way to
I'd be in
work.
traffic right now.
That's so. I never, bro. I that went over my head. Like I just, man. I thank God for that right now. I feel like dropping to my knees. The reason that we've been able to do No Stingy Energy for years and be able to give this much and empower this many people is because we did what we needed to do to free ourselves. I didn't think about that. If we didn't take that risk of leveraging debt, building assets, you guys wouldn't have known who we were.
Damn, that's a
Can I
good
speak
point.
on that, Brian?
Wow.
That's a
I
fact.
never thought
Speak on
about that.
And
we've
we
been at work
we working on
the
year
last
4.
Yeah.
We're on year 4 now.
Yeah, let me
Go ahead,
jump in
Garland.
on that, man. I'll tell everybody here. 2 years ago, I was working a 9 to 5 for a home builder, regional home builder here in Texas, and my design business had started to take off. And I remember telling my partner I was afraid because back in like 2015, I tried to step out and start my own business. I failed. Put my family through struggles. I had to Uber just to make ends meet. Hated it. I ended up having to get 2 jobs, one working at the home builder that I had left and working down at the ballpark for the Astros, working security. I was just content with, being able to pay the bills and everything. But my business was growing and I was afraid. And I remember my business partner, my best friend, saying to me, like, yo, you're going to miss out on an opportunity to not only just free yourself, but to also see what the Lord got for you by hanging on to this fear. He said, man, you turning down business to hang on to a job that's paying you $65,000 a year when you probably have a business that could pay you way more than that. And that kind of like helped me get over that hump, bro. And I let that job go. And I'll tell you, bro, from October to December of this past year, 2023, I made in about 2.5 months my salary at my old job. I've made way more money on my own than I ever made working for any of these builders. And just letting go of that fear freed me up, to be able to set my own schedule, to create a business that not only takes care of me, but takes care of my family. And so all of that fear that you holding on to could be keeping you from, your greatest blessing. You holding on to a job that could be holding you back. And my biggest thing was, my boy said, you worried about insurance and stuff. He was like, look, I'll put you in contact with somebody who could get you insurance for your business. Once I figured out how easy it was for me to get insurance for me and my daughter under my business, I was like, bruh, it's time for me to go, and never look back, bro. Never look back. So
it's crazy how that worked, man. Crazy how that worked. So same for me, man. I was making about $115,000 at my job. Quit 2020, 45 days later, I made over 6 figures after walking away. I made more working for myself than I did at my job in 45 days than I did working somewhere for 12 months.
Wow.
So that's crazy how that shit works.
What do you think is that difference maker, though? Let's be honest, because some people are going to hear that and they're going to think, damn, I'm going to quit my job today and I'm going to go make some money. Because I want to preface, Garland said 2 stories, right? He said one story where it didn't work out. He fell on his face. And then the other story where it did work out. So can we speak to that? And then I want to get Brian in on this too. I don't know why I keep saying he disconnected. But
I don't know. I would say this though.
No,
we got to speak on this. I would say before anybody even think about quitting their job, you should always put yourself in the best position. Like, put
Mm.
yourself in the best position. What does that mean? Build relationships with multiple banks. I'm talking about put the most you can, deposit into the account, maybe get a loan with them, maybe buy a house with them. Reason being, because if you quit, they're not gonna ask you for that stuff again. They're not gonna ask you for all them statements that they did in the beginning. So moving forward, you got the relationship. The only thing they're gonna ask you for is your last tax return. They're not gonna ask you for your W-2s again. They're not gonna ask for your pay stubs again. They're not gonna do all that stuff again. That's all they're gonna do is pull your credit, and then we need your previous. So we need your 2003 tax return. And then if you buy properties in the beginning of the year, they don't even need the tax return. They just need that you filing late or whatever it's called. I don't know what the paper is. So you have to build relationships with as many small banks as possible before you walk away from your job. Because if you walk away from your job and you try to go to a bank, it's going to be harder to get money. It's possible, but it's going to be harder to get money. So I always tell people to make your LLC as soon as possible, make money in your LLC, and file taxes for your LLC. Because if you do quit your job and you've been having your LLC for 3-4 years and you've been filing taxes and you're making money, you're not writing everything off, you're actually making money, now those small banks can go off your tax returns if you haven't built a relationship with them already. But we have to set up ourselves up. If we know it, like in my head, in 2016 when I started real estate, I knew I wouldn't stand working at a job. So I set up everything right when I started. I set up my LLC. I made sure I did my taxes because I know I was quitting my job in the future. I didn't know when it was going to be, but I know I was quitting. So I made sure my business was set up. I filed my taxes, built as many relationships with small banks as possible. So when I quit, I'm not going to have the struggle of, oh man, I can't get funded. I can't get funded. You got to take care of all that stuff in the beginning. Go ahead, Byron. I had to hit on that. So do
Yeah,
not just walk away your
I
job
gotta get.
and don't have your stuff together. Shout out to
Yeah,
Dr. O.
I gotta get Brian in on this because I know he did something very similar. Um, I know he did something very similar in the sense of he had massive amounts of assets before he quit his job. Matter of fact, I think Brian was reluctant to quit his job. He probably had, I don't know how many million in real estate owned at that time prior to quitting. Brian, are you with us right now? Are you able to speak to that?
Brian killing you with that disconnect, huh?
I mean, you don't want me to talk, man.
Nah, I think when you go to the chat for whatever reason, it disconnects you on our end, and then we can't
It
see
show
you.
us that you disconnected.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I haven't glitched out 1 second. I've heard everything. So yeah, man. So man, I had about like 16 or 17 houses before I left. Um, I was similar to O'Neal. Me and O'Neal,
We
I
was
think
talking
we,
on the daily.
yeah, I think we met. That's how we became good friends because we was in the exact same industry, shift working and things like that. Um, my when I worked for Exxon Mobil as a process operator in the oil and gas field. So I made anywhere from 108,000 to I think my best year was like 118 or something like that, or 122. My tax return. Um, and what I would do is I would just buy properties like those methods I share with you guys, seller finance, subject to, until I had about like 17 of them. I think my net cash flow after all of the mortgages were paid were close to $5,000, a little under $5,000. And at that point, and then at that point, only at that point, I was comfortable to leave. So somebody said, I think it's Miss Wiley said, "What did you do first to come out of that fear?" I'm gonna be honest. I don't know about anybody else. I'm gonna be honest. I was terrified.
What made you
Ace
the
was
most terrified?
saying, "Why don't you just leave your job?" Because I was making an extra $100,000 in real estate, doing like wholesale deals and other things like that. And my thing is, it was fear driving me. I did not want to quit my job off of active income that I was doing in real estate on the side. I wanted something a little bit that I felt was a little bit more secure. So I had what I called a freedom number, right? And once I met that passive income goal in real estate through the rentals, then and only then is when I quit my job. All right. And then when I quit my job and got my time back, kind of like Garland has said, it just allowed me to make so much more money because I had I could take advantage of so many more opportunities that I couldn't when I was stuck at work. So that's one thing. Another thing I wanted to point on that I kind of wanted to get off is, you know, people talking about like maybe the fear of leaving or the fear of the debt, right? And wanting it free and clear and things like that. What I would do, here's just an idea, right? It's not advice, this is an idea. Anybody that has a job right now, right, and is looking to get their freedom, how about you use leverage, you use creative finance, right, to purchase your rentals and start to build up that asset column to create cash flow. All right. And with the debt, right, just make sure that you it's making sense every month, your cash flow and everything like that. Cause look at this, guys, there's always a time to sell. If it's uncomfortable to you, if it's against your core values, if you're not willing to do the work to change your perspective and look at it differently, hey, it's always a time to liquidate and sell. But check this out, guys. The banks, it's all a financial system. It's all a game. You just want to learn the game. The banks loan money that they don't have. You put deposits in the bank, right? You put your cash in the bank. They turn around and you know what they do with the money that they give you 0.002% interest on? They
They
give
lend it out nine
credit cards
times.
for 22%. They go and give car loans for 6.5 to 10%. That's the exact same thing that our financial institutions use. So when people say that, hey, I want my house free and clear, guys, you got to play the game. You got to play the same game that they're playing, right? They're leveraging the debt to get more from it. So that's just kind of something I wanted to point out there is that the cash you put in the bank, the banks are lending out more cash than they actually have. So think about you having a mortgage on the property and your mortgage being $900. No, it's not free and clear, but the mortgage is $900 and the rental rate could be $1,500. Play the same game. If
I
you're not
love it.
comfortable with the game after operating that system for a while, hey, sell it and go back to what you know.
Facts.
Buy it free and clear. It's going to take a lot longer.
Facts. Listen, I want to say shout out to Dr.
You're
O
on
for the
mute.
super
I
chat.
mean, what? How do you guys feel about that? What I just said? You guys feel like it's garbage? Do you guys pick up what I was putting down, or no?
Oh,
That was
bro.
good.
That's
I don't hear you
golden.
guys. Are you guys?
Golden.
Let's see.
That
Listen,
was
shout out to
good.
Dr. O for the super chat. And also, if you can, go ahead and hit the like button. Listen, we ain't asking for much. Just hit the like button. You know, we
The
got
extra free stuff.
close
You
to
know what
90
I'm saying?
people in the building, over 90 people in the building. Just go ahead and hit the like button and just show a little bit of love to the like button. That's all it is, you know. Because we dropping games. So I want to talk about something that we put in the chat. Let those assets be the slave. My God. Let those assets become the slaves. Why should you become the slave? So here's the deal. Somebody put in the chat that, rental income is stressful. It can be passable. That is true.
Hey, Byron.
Huh?
You pick your
I'm
stress
sorry,
you
man.
want, man.
That time I did go offline. I missed everything. Did you guys respond? Did y'all hear any of that? Or
Yeah,
what
we
was
heard
fun?
you
Yeah,
clear.
yeah. We 100% agree with what you're talking about.
Yeah, I want to go back to that piece, Brian. You mentioned in the chat that let those assets become the slaves. And then I want to highlight that MM put in the chat, and this is true. She said that rental income is anything but passive, and it can be stressful. These are beautiful. This beautiful question,
Yeah, I like that.
and it was a beautiful statement that you said. But here's the deal: what Brian said was, I'm pretty sure slavery, right, wasn't passive either. Right? You think every single slave,
Oh my God.
you think every single slave was compliant? You think every single slave played by the rules, right? And did what they were supposed to do? It was a reason why it was a lot of torture that took place. And I'm not trying to make light of slavery, so forgive me, right? Forgive me on this. But here's the thing, right? Do we think that businesses operate right without problems? Do we think CEOs right? Or
Nothing.
investors get to invest their money without doing research on the companies prior to doing research. No, none of this stuff is passive. None of this stuff is easy. But the thing about it is,
Nothing
what
worth
Brian
having is
said
easy.
was, we want to let the assets be the slave,
Yeah,
right?
and I'm sorry, that was a slip up. If
No,
I
that
said
was
anything
good.
about the passive part, because anybody that thinks real estate is completely passive probably doesn't own any properties.
Facts.
Now, yeah, you could be a lender. That could be passive, lending money. But yeah, back to the assets being a slave, Byron.
Can you highlight why that's so important? And from a time perspective, because a lot of people, we got to go back to the time piece, right? The reason why, rentals is not easy, but but they give you a lot of time for the money,
The
and
leverage, yeah.
the leverage for the money. Can
So
you speak to that?
right. So is rentals passive? Hell no, rentals aren't passive. However, here's the issue with trading time for money. Let's say I make $200,000 a year on my job. $200,000 a year. Let's say I make a salary of $200,000 a year, or I get an hourly uh, uh, pay rate of, I don't know, 100 and something dollars an hour. There's only so much I can make. Period. Because there's only so many hours in a day. With real estate or businesses or investments, you have leverage. So that same amount of time, let's say 3 hours, let's say 5 hours a month. I might invest 5 hours a month on properties to be able to make a certain amount of income. I don't have to necessarily work all 40 hours to receive the same amount of income. So the thing about it is, it goes back to leverage and our goal. Our goal, I know Byron O'Neill, I'm pretty sure our goal is the same, right? To be able to have as much time as possible, right? And put enough
Right.
assets to work, right? To be the slaves so the assets can generate the money, not us. Not us clocking in, not us, doing all the work to get paid. The assets are going to work. The assets are generating the income. The assets stress themselves out, not us. We just oversee, right, the performance of the assets and do whatever we need to make sure that they continue to perform. We're
And it
allowing our
gives you
money to
the
go out and work with us.
and it
Work with
gives
us.
you the ability to show up here and
Right.
share instead of having to go and clock in somewhere to make that same amount of money. Is that kind of accurate?
Exactly.
All while those assets, aka slaves, continue to work. They're working right now. They're working right now. And as they're working, they're getting paid off not by Brian,
By the tenants.
by the tenant.
So and this is the same principle. Anybody can use this. I'm not no smarter than anybody. I'm telling you, like my partner, he calculates things faster in his head than I do with trying to pull up my calculator, right? Don't have to be brilliant. Anybody in here can do the exact same thing. But Byron, guess how much my income will change if I decide to go to work today or not? Or if I decide to leave the house and open up my laptop for the next week. Guess how much my income will change or be affected?
Remain the same. I'll only go higher.
Yeah, it does change. People are staying in these properties. They have to pay. There's a
And they
property
pay more
management.
every year.
They got to pay more every year. There's property management in place to make sure that, if they don't pay, somebody else gets in the property. So whether I go, it's not, oh, you got vacation time? No, it's all vacation time if you want it to be, right? You there's nobody policing how the time is managed. Okay, you only have this many days of sick time, this many days of PTO time. No, it doesn't matter. And so that's the goal, and that's one of the reasons why we prefer to use leverage. That, and of course, like I said, the financial institutions do the exact same thing. So why not play the game of the banks?
I would say
Wow.
this, man, to answer the question to the passive income or whatever. You can make real estate passive. You can. There's ways to do it though. Like what Brian's saying, this is how I learned how to do it. Do what the banks do. You can become the lender. You can buy a house at a deep discount fix them up minimal, and sell them. Let's just say you all in that 50,000, you can sell that same property for 100,000, and you're just the lender. That's it. They pay you every month. And guess what? If they don't pay, foreclosure, and do it all over again. Clean it up, sell it as is, do it again. Because you got to think about it. Who makes the most money in a transaction with the least amount of stress? The bank. You could do the same thing. You could do that on the commercial side, residential side, everything in real estate. That's probably the most passive position you could be in if you want extremely passive. You get an upfront down payment, 15, 20,000. You get monthly payments, cash flow may be 500, 600. And then you get a cash out again when they pay it off. So you're getting paid 3-4 times with no to less stress.
All while the mortgage
That's
is
the game I like
to
to play.
Paid down.
That's it. Yeah.
Real quick,
Brian, I can jump in real quick.
Jump
man.
in, please.
I would say you would also need to define what you think passive is. Um, yeah, owning houses isn't passive, but think about the difference between with your time. Like when you own a house and you're renting it out, you're not at the house every day. You're not clocking in at 9 a.m. and spending 8 hours at the house every day to get paid off of the house. Now, yeah, you're gonna have issues that come up about older houses. You're gonna have to replace stuff. You're gonna have to do some maintenance. But if the water heater bursts, that's a 1 to 2 day thing. That's not a 30-day thing that you have to devote 30 days of time to. Whereas when you go to a job, you there every day. They had you there yesterday on Martin Luther King Day. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't just say, hey, I'm gonna work a half a day. They're like, no, you working today. And so, I think that that's just another excuse that people use to say, oh, well, I don't want to jump into it because it's not passive. You need to define what passive is. If I'm not devoting consistent time to it every day, like I do courses and ebooks and stuff, I might have invested a couple of weeks in creating the ebook. I might have invested, a month or two in creating the course. And then once it's done and it's up there, now every sale that I generate off of that course afterwards is passive income because I ain't doing nothing to generate it. I'm sitting here working on projects that I'm building on and somebody's over here buying a course. So that's passive. So I think that's the thing to look at. We've been talking about time a lot. As an entrepreneur, what we trying to do? We trying to win back our time. That's all we trying to do, man.
It's just time. It's just time. That's all it is. It's time. And here's the thing. A lot of us, right, are in situations where at the end of the day, as long as you have income coming in, right, whether it's from a 9 to 5, whatever it may be, you picking up properties is not going to affect that regardless. So you could do both, right? You can literally do both because you still got your time anyway. But Brian, I want to go back to something.
Man.
You want to speak to that, and then I got a question for you after this.
No, I was just about to drop something. Mr. Al Johnson. I don't know if you guys know Al. Very
Yeah.
financially successful real estate investor, one of the top 3 agents in the country. With he's with State Farm. Yeah, he had broke something down for me because at one point I was really big on leaving a huge amount of equity in properties, right? Which the a lot of sub twos in seller finances I still do, right? Um, because I don't want to refinance that debt and get, debt that's almost twice as high. But he had made a point, because I was telling him, yeah, man, I don't want to refinance, take one. And he had showed me it was a financial little like video, and he was breaking down like some finance stuff, and I'm like, wow. And he was saying, you know, the fact that the more properties you have, it's almost like now instead of one growing in equity, one appreciating, now you have 2 and 3 appreciating, right? And so instead of one property appreciating by 30,000, right? Now you have, let's say, if you use debt, you can have 3 properties appreciating by 30,000. And then a lot of times that equity, because you can't eat equity, right? Equity doesn't feed you, right? And so when the market drops, that equity that you had, it disappears,
Gone.
right? It's gone. So you hopefully it comes back up. And so that's one of the things is you want to safely and be comfortably make sure that you account for all of the monthly expenses, your typical monthly expenses. You want to have, reserves and everything. But also you want to calculate your average monthly expenses. But what you want to do is you want to acquire as much real estate as possible, because not if it goes up, when it goes up, you would rather it go up on 10 properties than go up on two, if that makes any sense. If the properties are going
Absolutely.
to appreciate, that's how people amass great wealth. The properties are going to appreciate. It's not when, it's not if they do, they will. And you would rather it appreciate not on your one free and clear property, but you want it to be spread out amongst 10, 15, 30, 40 properties when that appreciation happens.
I want to
Good way
highlight
to put
something.
it.
I want to highlight something real quick too, because we hear a lot about bad tenants. We hear a lot about bad deals. We hear a lot about um,
Let me
bad
put it on
things
the
that can
screen.
happen in real estate. And
Boom.
these things are true. I don't want to gloss over these things, but what I want to highlight is the thing that I kind of picked up from my guy, Welby. And I love this statement that he said, right? He said, you're either going to be an investor, right? Or a retail buyer, right? You're either going to be a property owner or you're going to be a landlord, right? And a lot of times, right, because real estate is one of those things where anybody, it's a lower barrier to entry. Well, I ain't gonna say it's a extremely low barrier to entry, because you do have to have money a lot of times to even play in this space. But for the average person, right, it's a lower barrier to entry. And because of that, you have people who become landlords by happenstance, meaning it just happened. Maybe, they couldn't sell their house in time, but then they moved and picked up another property. Let's say, for instance, and they became a landlord because they couldn't sell the property fast enough and they had a cousin that was interested in renting it out, right? You have that landlord. You also have the investor that, they bought a property at this particular price, and for whatever reason, the market just skyrocketed and it went up 50, 60, $70,000, and they were able to sell it and make a $80,000 profit. So we have these scenarios where people become investors, landlords by happenstance. But when you jump into this space, you have to choose which side you're going to play on. If not, you will find yourself in a situation where you're more likely to get that bad tenant because you're not treating this as a business. You're more likely to lose money on a real estate deal because you're not treating it as a true investment, right? When you go into any space, and anybody will tell you this, right? A lot of times businesses will look like it's easy until you get in it and you realize, no, it's a lot of intentionality that goes into making this thing become successful. And you have to be mindful of the fact that when you go into the space, you have to be knowledgeable, right? You have to put in the work in educating yourself on how to do it successfully. And it's not happenstance, right? So you don't get a good tenant on accident. Sometimes it happens, right? But a lot of it, you have to screen tenants just like the professionals do, right? You have to set up systems just like the professionals do to make sure you're getting paid on time. You have to understand your market just like regular house flippers to understand how to make a massive profit on a deal, right? These are things that you have to learn, right? And you're not going to learn these things by happenstance. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I also want to see what Brian's take is on that, and Garland as well, if y'all don't mind.
Man, I'll let Garland go. I think he nailed it, man. I don't want to butcher that.
Is Garland with us?
Like you frozen. Oh, he good. He good.
Yeah.
Nah, I was gonna say you hit the nail on the head. I mean, dang, I forgot that old. But
The nail
anyway,
on the head.
yeah. There we go. If anything, man, you got to run it like a business. I know we talked about paying your taxes earlier. I'm big on that one because I know a lot of people who write stuff off, and I'm always telling them, I'm like, look, man, you got to stop doing that, because then when you go out here to try to get debt, they look at your tax returns and you done wrote so much off, it look like you ain't made nothing. If anything, you should be figuring out how to leverage the taxes so that you can pay less while still being able to show, what you made. But with anything, man, you have to treat it like a business, and if you run it like a business, then that's the way that you can be successful. And I think sometimes the reason why some of us get in there and we fail is because we don't treat it like a business. We treat it like it's a hobby. I heard someone say if you treat your business like it's a hobby, it'll pay you like it's a hobby. But if
Ooh,
you treat it like it's an actual business, it'll begin to pay you like you're an actual CEO.
ooh.
And so yeah, I mean, if you running I saw Warren Buffett. Yeah, thank you. I saw Warren Buffett yesterday in a reel from like a decade ago, talking about the challenges with trying to buy up um, a bunch of single family homes and rent them out. He was saying that at the time he would have loved to buy like a couple 100,000 homes and rent them out, but he said the issue was managing them. He was like, how do you manage them? Because it's different when you have a bunch of houses that are scattered as opposed to one apartment building. So what I heard when he said that was he was thinking about the logistical side of owning, of taking on the benefits of owning houses. And so when you treat it like that, like me and my wife are trying to expand more and to own more rental houses. My wife is going to go take property management courses. She's going to go learn all of those things. She's going to leverage, my trades and everything. And she's going to treat it like an actual business. And if you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. Businesses have issues, businesses have meetings, businesses sit down and figure out processes and try to automate things and figure out how to do what they're doing more efficiently. If you do it that way, I mean, the only chance of you have a greater chance of success. That's where I see it.
That's a fact. Listen, we just put a new poll up. Did we get that poll up? Oh,
Yeah, it's up.
awesome. So we got a new poll up, but definitely want you to jump at answer that poll. But real quick, Brian, what is your favorite creative finance deal that you've ever done and why?
What them numbers
Man,
looking like?
man, it's so many, but I'll I'll talk to you about this one that actually just it's probably been a few months that this kind of concluded. So check it out. This is a story. So we had this lady. She I met her and she said that her husband, she basically got him locked up for a really long time. Found out that the husband was basically a pedophile and molesting the adopted kids. So really sickening story, right?
Ugh.
She just wanted a new chapter in her life. She had the property up for rent, but no, she didn't want to be a landlord. And she had the property up for sale, but it wasn't selling fast enough. And she was already discussing, she had already moved into another property that she was renting. So she was paying two mortgages. All right, follow me here. So the home that her and her husband or ex-husband was living in and that he was molesting the kids in, she moved out of that house, right? And so now she was stuck paying two mortgages. She
Mm,
didn't want to be a landlord. Um, when I offered her my cash offer, what I wanted to, what I needed to pay, it was less than what she still owed on the property. So respectfully, she declined the offer. Okay. So she said she was a school teacher. She said, I'm a little bit behind on my retirement. I need to at least get about $20,000 out of this house. All right. I said, okay. I said, her name was Angie. I said, Angie, let me ask you this. What if there's a way that I could take over on your mortgage payments and get you the $20,000 over time? Is that something we could work out? She agreed. So what I did was I took over on her mortgage payments, and she had a mortgage with Rocket Mortgage, and her mortgage payments were not around $900 per month. I agreed to pay her $20,000 over 60 equal payments, so that's no interest for 5 years. If anybody take their calculator and take $20,000 divided by 60 payments, that's $333 per month. All right. So $333 per month times 60 payments, that's 5 years, equals 20,000. So that was the way that I can get her 20,000 that she was expecting, but she would have to get it over time. In return, she would let me just take over on her mortgage payments. She agreed to do so. Follow me here. I rented that house out for $1,475 a month. $1,475 minus the roughly $900 mortgage equals $575. Out of the $575 a month, I gave her $333, right? I did not have to bring any money to the closing table. I simply bought that property without having to use any of my own cash, any of my own credit, because you remember the $20,000 that she was expecting to get, she was willing to take it over the next 5 years. Fast forward 2 weeks later, I put this property on the market as a seller finance option. I get a buyer and a family that wants to buy it from me seller finance. Keep in mind now, I own the property. I control the deed. I'm on title. They put $15,000 down. How much did it cost me to get into the property, guys? I think a few $100, like $300 to draft a deed, for the attorney to draft a deed. They put down $15,000. So already profiting almost $15,000. That's check number one on the front end, made about $15,000. Every single month, a little over $200. Year 3, this lady defaults. She stops answering the phone and everything. So I'm gets to talk to things like MM. You know, what if they destroy my brother's house, or what if they stop paying? All right. So follow me here. Already, I was able to buy this house. No money out of my pocket. Well, $300 and something dollars. Not using my own cash or credit. I already made almost $15,000. For almost 3 years, I'm making over $200 a month. Check this out. What about when something broke, Brian? You're only making a little over $200. Guys, I wasn't a landlord. I was the lender. I seller financed the house. So when your roof starts leaking, you can't call Wells Fargo. So over those almost 3 years, I didn't get a single maintenance call because I was no longer the owner of the property. I was holding the note. I was the lender. Watch this. Almost year 3, they default and stop paying. Contact the attorney. We go through the foreclosure process. Get the property back. Go to the property. She destroyed the property. The properties, when I say destroyed, it was just nasty. Roach infested. It was really nasty, right? She would just put a lot of wear on tear in that house. I have to pay around $13,000 to get the house in rent-ready condition. In market-ready condition. Put $13,000 into the house in about 15 days. It took my contractor. Put it on the market because now I get the property back with all the appreciation. Put the property back on the market, made $87,000. So I got paid on the front end, roughly $15,000. Got paid a little over $200 for almost 3 years. The money that I got paid over those years, I basically had to put it back in the property. The cash flow, basically had to put it back in the property because she messed the property up. Then sold the property to a retail buyer and made $87,000. That was one of my favorite deals. Definitely, I wouldn't say the best deal because there's so many stories like this, but that right there. So when you take the net, the net was still over, I would say, $70,000. Even having to fix the house after she moved out. So we got paid 3 times.
What I love about that, Brian, that's so important is because, and I'm glad you mentioned that one because that one had a lot of problems in it. You see, it had all of the problems, all of the scary things that we would think about in a deal that can go wrong, went wrong in that deal. And it was still a $70,000, $80,000, $70-something thousand profit. And so I want people to really think about reframing how we view problems in business. Problems are opportunities to the right business mind. Problems are opportunities to the right business mind. Matter of fact,
no problems, no money.
No problems, no money. Most businesses are built off of solving what?
Problems.
My God.
And the
I
bigger
want I
problem you
want to
solve, the more money you make.
Mm,
yeah,
Most part.
I want to find the landlord that has had a history of tenants damaging their properties.
mm.
Why? They're most likely to give me a better discount. If I find the
And most
landlord
times,
that's been
more
cash
passive income.
flowing and he's just been so successful and the properties have been so great to him, they're gonna value those properties so high, right? I want problems. Problems create opportunity. Problems create big paydays. And the bigger the problem you can solve, the more money you make.
And the more they're gonna love you too. They got more property. They sell all of them too.
Facts.
You know what I mean, think of people like Elon Musk. With fuel and electric, he's solving big problems, right?
What Carla put in the chat, Mimi put in the chat, how much did you pay the original seller before you took over the property?
You can
Nothing.
sell a few $100, $300
Yeah,
or something to close.
I didn't pay her anything because I told her that my offer was less than her payoff, and I couldn't do it. I said I couldn't do it, Angie. And Angie, matter of fact, I got a video with Angie too that I need to put. And this I just took this a few months ago. And she in the video, I said, Angie, how much did you get the closing table? She said nothing. She just a cheesing, right? She done got remarried since then. She got a good guy, bought a beautiful house. Like she just a cheese. I didn't get anything. And I said, why did it make sense to you, Angie? She said, you know, I was having to pay gas. I was having to pay that mortgage. So I didn't pay her anything to buy the property, right? I bought it for whatever she owed on the property plus $20,000 more. And the $20,000 more, I paid her in increments of $333. In almost year three, I called up Angie, and Angie was in the loop the whole time. I told Angie, man, Angie, she said, I'm so sorry you're going through that. I said, it's all good, Angie. I said, I know when I get, as soon as I get this property back, though, I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to resell it. So you're going to get cashed out a little early, right? Because she was going to get her little $333 for a total of 5 years. But it didn't matter to her that I was going to pay it off early because what? She wasn't getting any interest. So it was kind of like, hey, it was just a win-win-win, all across the board.
Wow. What a beautiful
Yes,
play.
indeed. Hey, man. I say, look, we was actually having a conversation yesterday. If y'all interested in actually learning this in person, I'm talking about for myself. My first rental was creative finance, no money out of my pocket. You want to learn how buyers buying these properties, these land, these lots, these acres, no money out of his pocket creatively. You want to learn how Brian is taking over people's mortgages. If y'all be interested in an in-person 2-day, intensive, I'm talking about receipts and everything. We always come with receipts. You want to learn how to do that? Just text that number, man. Text 2-day to 337-381-0208. We got enough people, man. We'll put it together. And then
Absolutely.
get y'all prepared for the new year.
Matter of fact, I think at our last 2-day workshop, guys, watch this. I can't make this up. In our last 2-day workshop, because I'll start by saying this. People always wonder, like, why would anybody do that? Why would anybody allow you to take over on the mortgage payments? And I say, great question. It just depends. Depends on the situation. The last 2-day workshop we had in Houston, Texas, I brought on a guest. And this was a previous homeowner that I bought her property subject to. She was a single police officer with 3 kids. And she felt like she was always house poor. Her dream was for her kids to grow up in a house. And that's why she decided to buy a house. And she was single with 3 kids. And she said it was always things she had to fix. And it was overwhelming and stressful. I purchased her property subject to back in like 2015. Right? Never missed a payment. Eventually, last year, I did a cash out refi on that property along with like, I don't know, 16 others and pulled out $263,000 tax free. Guys, you guys could go to my Instagram. You'll see the receipts. You'll see me break it down and everything. How I did it. That lady, she came to the 2-day workshop. And to the all of the attendees of the 2-day workshop, she shared her story and her experience of allowing me to just take over on her mortgage payments and leaving her name on the actual loan. After being a guest, to share her testimony at the 2-day workshop, and learning all the other things that we were sharing there. Because I told her, hey, you can stick around, and just kind of see what this is all about. She got so inspired that she joined the program. She jumped in. Within 90 days, she did her first deal and she made $10,000. Her name is Tiffany Sanders. She's a police officer with Houston Police Department. Amazing story.
Mm.
Amazing story.
Facts.
So she was once a motivated seller that allowed me to take over her home mortgage, trusting and leaving her name on the debt. It worked out for her. She came to the 2-day workshop to share with everybody why she did it. She learned more things of creative finance, got inspired, became a student. 90 days, closed her first deal. Crazy.
And now
stuff.
she's a property owner.
Can't make
And
this
an
up.
investor.
And an investor.
So
Beautiful.
yeah, my plan is definitely to bring Tiffany back in the building, because now it's seasoned even more, right? Byron, you probably didn't even think about that. Got to bring Tiffany back to the next 2-day workshop,
Oh,
because
yeah.
now she's going to be able to not only talk about her testimony about the motivated seller piece, she's going to be also able to talk about her experience and going from just clocking in to making a paycheck to now understanding how to control her income as well.
It's beautiful.
Mm. A lot of upside, man. When you just learn some new skills, man. That's all I'm saying, Byron.
It's
I
just
got
new
one of my
skills.
students. One of my students recently took over somebody's payment for 2 houses next door to each other. No money out of pocket. Took over the payment. She was making the payments with an interest-free credit card. She rehabbed one of the houses, cost about $30,000. Also used a credit card, and then went back to the bank and refinanced and walked away with $65,000.
My God.
We talking like 4 months total. She went in that deal with no money and walked away with $65,000. She also still owned the 2 houses and renting them both out.
Wow.
So
Zero money out of pocket. Go ahead.
Man, I want to address something, because I hear so many things, like traditional ways of thinking, and sometimes, like, when you think a certain way, you can't even see it the other way, right? It's like you just can't. So said, wow, look at this. Said, sounds like she made a bad deal. She could have
Did a great
sold
deal.
or rented out the property herself. So let me give you a little more history. First of all, she already, if you guys heard the story, she already felt like she was house poor. She felt like she didn't have extra money for vacations or anything like that, because something was always happening with the house. And when you're a homeowner, things break, you got to fix it. The last thing she wanted to do, because I put it, on her, the last thing she wanted to do is become a landlord. As far as selling the property, when she met me, guess what? The property had been on the market for a year already with a realtor from Keller Williams. Every buyer that came to the property didn't want it. She had carpet, she had pets, so the smell of the pets, like the fish tank, like it just didn't show well. So she actively, when I met her, the house was on the market active and had been active for a year. She was giving up on her realtor. And this was what she told me. She said, Brian, she said, I don't even care anymore. I've been trying to be responsible and pay this mortgage, but it's just too much. I'm about to just say, she wasn't even in pre-foreclosure, but she was fighting a fight that was just too much for her. She said, Brian, I don't care. This realtor can't sell this house. I'm just about to let the bank take it. I don't care. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. What if I could take over your mortgage payment? She said, well, my realtor never told me that I can do that. I said, of course she didn't. One, she probably didn't even know that's a possibility. And the second, she probably thinking that if that happens, she's not going to get paid. So, to your point, she tried to sell the house. It didn't work. She didn't want to be a landlord. And if she was a landlord, the reason she was motivated to sell it because she couldn't afford the repairs in the first place. You can't be a landlord if you can't afford repairs. So that's to answer those questions.
Wow.
Did that answer your questions, MM? Man, we gotta get you. We gotta get him on the
Yeah, we
live,
got to
man.
get
We can have
him
a whole
live.
show. We can have a whole show with you talking about all this. I think it'll be a beautiful thing, though,
Me too.
because most people think the way that she thinks. To be honest,
Absolutely. And here's the thing, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here, right, are not, the traditional, right? So it's a reason why there's a
not
1%.
regular.
It's the reason why it's a 1%. It's the reason why 1% of the population in most places you go are your top earners, right? It's the reason why
They
your
know
top
what you
earners are
don't
typically,
know.
yeah, they're doing things that everybody else ain't doing. They're doing things that are different from what everybody else does. It's
Man,
not
Byron.
comfortable, it's risky, right? But everything is
But it's
risky.
rewarding.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And so you have to look at this thing like, listen, it is possible. You have to look at things from that perspective. It is possible. And not only is it possible, but I'm going to make that happen for me. And that's how you change and pivot to that 1% mindset. I want to get
Man,
Garland in on this.
can I ask something real quick, Byron?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
profound. I want everybody to take down the name Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale. He was one of the pioneers of personal development. That space of personal development. He was one of the ones with the Zig Ziglars, the Jim Rohns, and things like that. Earl Nightingale. Real quick, Byron. He said the problem with the most of the world is they're playing the most dangerous game, and the name of that game is follow the follower.
Ooh.
And
Dang.
you talk about the 10%. And he also made a statement which was profound. He said, if on any given day, if you choose to do the exact opposite of what 90% of the world is doing, you'll probably never make another mistake in your life.
Wow.
Yeah,
Damn.
it blew my head, bro. If you will do the exact opposite of what 90% of the world is doing, you'll probably never make another mistake in your life. And let's think about that. That sounds like that's just cliche. That sounds. Then I started to, what I mean, just throw examples in my head to be like, man, this is bogus. Like, the average person doesn't read another book after they graduate high school. The average person watches a certain amount of hours of TV. They keep up with all the sports trends, right? The average person doesn't save a certain percentage of their income. The average person, we're talking about the 90%, doesn't own investment properties, right? The average person doesn't invest in their specialized knowledge, right? We're not talking about general. And so you get where I'm coming from. It's like, wow, that's true. If you do the exact opposite of what 90% of the world, the average person goes to work and clock in and has a job. They don't own a business. So, be careful not to follow the followers.
Mm.
Follow the leaders.
Wow.
Hey, Brian, I'm gonna post that video which you post probably in 2000. You posted this a long time ago. This is like one of the best posts you ever did with Jim Rohn. It's all risky. Waking up in the morning risky. Driving in a car risky. It's all risky. I might as well take a risk and make more
Yeah.
income, change my life than
Yeah, that's
be
major.
driving down the car.
Everybody look that up. It's all risky, Jim Rohn. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. It's like 2 minutes. It's a 2 minute clip from a 2 hour plus seminar he did like probably in the 80s. But
Yep.
sorry, Byron. Thank you for that. Allow me to share that.
Nah, for sure, for sure. You say you gonna post it? Oh, you gonna play it?
Man, I tried to post the link. It said error.
Okay. So what's your thoughts on that, Garland?
Sorry, I was muted. You talking about doing the opposite of what most of the people are
Yeah.
doing? Oh yeah, I'm big on that, man. I don't do my friend. A lot of my friends laugh at me because they'll always be like, "Man, don't invite Garland nowhere because he gonna show up early and he gonna stay for like an hour and he's gonna dip." And I'm like, "Good, you know me, you know." I'm not trying to stay out late or anything, but I feel like life is precious, time is precious. I'm here for a purpose. I got things that I need to accomplish. I can still have fun, but there's a lot of things that they're just distractions. And so, if you want to get to that level, it makes me think of when I played football in college and everything. The guys who were at a different level than the rest of us on the team were the guys who were, at practice 45 minutes early, the guys who were dedicated and working and always putting in that work, chasing after that thing. So life ain't no difference, man. The people who are dedicated and putting in that real work, they're gonna see it. And then, this is monopoly, really. All you just need to do is learn the rules, and once you learn the rules, you in there. Sorry, one of my kids ran by. Man, snow days are not good when you have them all at home at once.
Hell no. I already know. I know what you're talking about.
Bruh, they all in there making a ton of noise. But yeah, I would also say, man, judging back on that, I mean, taking back to that fear aspect too. A lot of people, the reason why they do a lot of those things is because they don't want to be rejected. They want to be accepted. And sometimes when you're trying to move in a direction that other people don't really, see or feel, they're not gonna ride with you, and some people don't want to make that journey alone. But sometimes that's what you got to do to prove to the naysayers and the people who can't see. They got to see you do it first, and then maybe they'll see, but sometimes they probably won't. They'll just hate on you afterwards.
The life ain't fun, but it's worth it.
Bruh, way worth it. I would never
It
go back
ain't
to
fun, but
the
guess what? 5 years later down the line, you having fun. They still slaving at work trying to figure it out.
Facts. I want to
facts.
play this real quick, man. I want to play this if I can get this on the screen, since we talking about, the
Yeah, we need that.
cautious and it all being risky. I'm gonna play this real quick.
Over caution.
Can y'all hear this?
Yep, we can hear it.
Some people never will have much. They're too cautious. Now, you can also be too reckless, but you can also be too cautious. This is called the timid approach to life. And my caution was always the risk. Risk used to drive me right up the wall. I used to say, what if this happens? It's called the language of the poor. What if this happens? And on top of that, if this was to happen, look at the fix I'd be in. I better not try. I could always ace myself out. Then I'll tell you what changed my whole life when I finally discovered it's all risky. The minute you were born, it got risky. If you think trying is risky, wait till they hand you the bill for not trying. If you think investing is risky, wait till you get the tab for not investing. See, it's all risky. Getting married is risky. Having children is risky. Going into business is risky. Investing your money is risky. It's all risky. I'll tell you how risky life is. You're not going to get out alive. That's risky. The Englishman says, well, if that's the way it's going to work out, let's give it a go. Right. That's what it's for. Give it a go. Somebody says, yeah, but I'm looking for safety and security. Fine, then huddle in a corner. We'll cover you with a sheet, bring you 3 meals a day. And we'll protect you, feed you, look after you, care for you. We won't let anything happen to you. And you'll probably live to be 100. The guy said, well, yeah, I'd live to be 100. But what a way to live. Right. What a way to live, safe and secure. Don't ask for security. Ask for adventure. Better to live 30 years full of adventure than 100 years safe in the corner. And see, it's not important how long you live. What's important is how you live.
My God.
Oh, he dropped a lot of bars in there.
That was powerful.
Sure did, man. That I know. I ain't gonna drop no names. I know some people close to me who have lived their lives like that. They're what if people. What if this happened? What if that happened? What if this? I had a guy call me last week. He's looking at a piece of land, and he wanted to build a fourplex. So I was telling him all the things that come with building a fourplex. You know, I was like, look, the city gonna put it through commercial permitting. You know, you're gonna have to go through this. I was like, this is all new. We don't really know what the city is going to do in this scenario. They're still figuring this stuff out. And the brother said to me, man, I don't know if I should do this. And I said, well, man, look, don't let that, you know, deter you away from doing this. I mean, building a fourplex is highly profitable. And so then he posed me the question. He said, yo, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? I said, well, first of all, I can't tell you that. Because first of all, I'm not you. I was like, look, I played for a defensive coordinator in college who took a lot of risk. We played with house money, you know, 3rd and 9. Most guys playing prevent. Nah, we overloading the weak side. We playing cover 0. We coming, baby. All right. We trying to get the pick six. We trying to get the sack, the strip and score, the strip and scoop and score. You know, at the end of the day, we play. Our coach would always say, we're gonna play with house money. And that mindset has carried on into a lot of the players as we done went off into the corporate world. And so me and my partner all the time, we say, look, we might not know something, but we're going to get out here and figure that issue out. You know, we're going to learn it and we're going to figure it out. You know, we're going to make the mistakes if we got to. We're going to talk to whoever we need to talk to. But we know that if we take the calculated risk, the reward is way greater than just sitting around and not doing nothing. And I think that's the big thing right there. You know, don't sit around and be a what if person, man. Jump out there and play with house money. It's 3rd and 9. Overload that weak side and come, bro. Let them know you coming too. We didn't disguise our blitzes or nothing. We let them know we coming. All right. You better be prepared. We coming. So let them know you coming.
Regardless of how you feel about it, you better be prepared because we coming regardless.
Yeah, you better call a timeout if you don't want us to come. But if you snap that ball, you're going to have 6, 7 defenders in your face.
Listen, man, appreciate that. Listen, if you can real quick, go ahead and hit the like button. Really appreciate everybody who has hit the like button, all the people who was in the super chat, the members who have subscribed to the channel. We appreciate that. All of those things help us grow and be able to share even more powerful messages, right? Even more and more powerful messages every single Tuesday, every single Thursday. So we are here every single Tuesday, every single Thursday at 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you pull up with us tomorrow. Matter of fact, tomorrow we have a powerful, oh my God, we have a powerful show called Uncorking History, Houston's first and only Black-owned winery company here in Houston, Texas. They're going to be sharing their story. Matter of fact, listen, I got Brian co-hosting that joint. I just thought about it. But yeah, so listen, powerful story. African-American couple kicking all kind of butt here and blazing new trails, things that's never been done before. We also
in a business that's uncommon for us. In a business that's uncommon.
And they've won all kind of awards. Listen to me. I'm talking about going crazy. Do not miss tomorrow's episode. Also, Thursday, we got the pastors coming through. We're going to be talking about is the nuclear family dead. What's that? Oh,
it'll be a good one.
Oh, this one's going to be crazy.
Every time we got pastors in the building, it's a different situation.
Yeah, man. So we're going to be talking about the nuclear family. So you definitely want to tap in with us on Thursday live. And then tomorrow we have that going to be going on 6:30 Central Standard Time as well. That's going to be airing. So definitely tap in to the Uncorking History. If you haven't already, go ahead and text that number today if you are interested in hearing more about the Creative Finance Push. Perfect timing. Here's the deal. Right now is the best time to be buying real estate because you do not want to wait to when Jerome Powell drops those interest rates and then you're fighting for the scraps that are left over whenever the prices start to skyrocket when the interest rates drop. So you don't want to be that person. Yeah. Go ahead and get into the game now. Learn how to become an owner now. Listen, even if you ain't got it all the way figured out, still you want to be in an ownership category. It's going to always benefit you more on that side of the fence than being on the other side of the fence. Oh, did I tell any lies there?
You ain't say no lies, man. You don't want to be the guy that's buying rentals with your realtor because they're not gonna have no inventory for you left. Because the
Facts.
guys that's been buying on MLS gonna be the guys that will continue to buy on MLS. You need to figure out how to solve these problems with solutions. You be the best solution to these buyers, and you have a blue ocean. The field that
Absolutely.
Brian is playing in is a blue ocean.
Blue.
The field that you playing in is a red ocean. That's why you buying overpriced properties. It's that simple. You gotta learn. You gotta get more education. You gotta get more skills so you can win in today's market. Because with the interest rates, when they drop, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for people that want to buy a regular house to live in and rentals and all that. It's gonna be harder. You will be paying more. So if you learn new skills, you get more money.
And
At
you
the
get
end
to
of the
cut
day.
the line. And
Yeah,
if you
you
think
get to cut the line.
that the wealthy is not cutting some kind of line somewhere, you crazy. You
Yeah, it
you
was
crazy.
for a reason.
Absolutely.
Got to play with a 1% playing that. But
Fact.
man, I enjoyed today's show, man. It was a good conversation. Hope y'all
great.
learned a lot of. Hope y'all got some value. Make sure if y'all haven't, click the subscribe button, hit the join button next to the subscribe button. They got 3 different levels you can join at. They got Trailblazer, Visionary, and also Legacy. Whichever one makes sense for you, make sure you click it. And then if you part of that, you get discounts on the events, like the events we talking about, this 2-day situation. You know what I'm saying? Discounts. You get discounts on mentorship, discounts on merch, all that. So make sure you join the family. And with that being said, we out. Make sure y'all check out our video tomorrow, dropping at 6:30 a.m. Pure, it's gonna be Pure Noir with the winery. Again, they're in a market that's very different for us. So make sure y'all check it out. That being said, we out, man. Peace.
What's up, y'all? So most people struggle with sales. A lot of us in real estate, and we struggle with our sales. We struggle with follow-up, we struggle with leads, and we just basically missing out on deals. For me, I just got on Taskify CRM. They send messages out for you. And look, a lot of us have work. When you get off of work, you have hot leads ready for you. Make sure you check out Taskify CRM. I'm telling you, it automatically replies for you. And look, it sends you multiple messages. Like we talking about drip campaigns, so you're not missing out on the lead follow-up. So make sure you check out Taskify CRM. Use coupon code No Stingy Energy to get 10% off. I'm about to show y'all inside my CRM so I can see how it really works. Make sure y'all check it out. Peace.